How's it going, producer? Thales here for the first episode of How to Write Lyrics for a Pop Song. In the next few minutes, we're gonna talk about my toolbox and step-by-step process on how to write lyrics specifically for pop music. And we're gonna do that by analyzing my latest song called Maybe We'd Be Together, which I released recently. First of all, we're gonna go pretty in depth here. This is not another superficial YouTube video or clickbait of sorts, and the knowledge I'll be sharing with you, I didn't come up with that. I learned it from a great professor, Pattinson from Berklee College of Music. Credit goes to him. To get started, let's take a quick look at our lyrics while listening to a section of the song, and then we'll dive right in.
I saw you with your boyfriend. I still have our picture in the frame. Can't believe you hurt me. I'm not the one to blame. I thought that we were lovers, but you were playing a game. I knew it would be over as soon as you asked me his name. You said we'd be together until the end. You promised, and we could have been smashing grapes in France or dancing in Berlin. I just can't help but wonder where we could have been. Maybe we'll be together. Maybe we'll be together. Maybe we'll be together if it wasn't for him.
So as you can see, it's a story that happens sometime after a breakup, and the songwriter wonders if they would still be together if it wasn't for a third person that somehow got involved. But it's not that simple, right? There are lots of feelings going on there. Now, it's important everyone understands that there are no rules in songwriting, but there are tools, and that's what we're gonna talk in the next few minutes. These tools, if used properly, will help us express emotions, alright? The purpose of that is to make sure we convey the right emotions that make sense throughout the song we're writing, creating a sense of unity, aka prosody. Writing a song is simply making a number of decisions that will support that central idea or emotion we're trying to express. That's why there are no rules in songwriting. We can use the tools or not, and if we do, it will probably be easier for the listener to feel what we wanted them to feel, because that's what music is all about, right? Feelings. So to simplify our job, we're gonna use a broad concept, stability versus instability of feelings. Would you say the song we're looking at is about a stable or unstable feeling? Pretty unstable, right? Mostly unstable, even though at some point in the chorus, when the songwriter is wondering what they would be doing if they were still together, there are some beautiful thoughts like smashing grapes in France, dancing in Berlin. Those sound like fun, but those thoughts do not last too long. The general feeling is rather unstable. A stable feeling would be, I love you. An unstable feeling would be, I miss you. So how do we express these feelings without having to say those words every time? We use the toolbox. The first tool we need to understand is the point of view, which is the relationship between the songwriter and the listener. Who is talking to whom? And we can use this relationship to determine whether we want our song to be objective, intimate, or very intimate. For example, the songwriter can be a storyteller and say things like, he did this, she did that. In this case, he's not part of the story, and neither is the listener. It's a third-person narrative, which is not intimate at all. There are three more points of view. The songwriter can be in the story, but not the listener. The listener can be part of the story, but not the songwriter, and they get more and more intimate. The most intimate point of view being the one where both songwriter and listener are subjects in the story, which is the case in the song we're analyzing. I chose the direct address point of view where the singer and the listener are subjects in the story. The song starts with, I saw you with your boyfriend. It can't get more intimate than that. So that's something you have to decide before you even start writing any song. How intimate do you want it to be? In this case, I chose super intimate because it made sense according to the general idea of the song. I wanted to write about a weird breakup that still hurts, so intimacy is our friend here. Now, once that first decision is made, we need to figure out the journey we want to take the listener in order to keep them interested throughout the whole song. Where our story will start, what it will go through, and where it will end. Or not end, in case it's left unresolved. We can't just give them the whole story at once in the beginning. We pace ourselves. Save something interesting for the development. Create a journey like a roller coaster with ups and downs. This journey can be something like from being lonely to meeting someone, then being in love and having a happy ending. Or from the past to present to future. Or from meeting someone to being in love to finally realizing that wasn't the right person for you. The journey can be anything, but it has to go from A through B to C. Otherwise, it will probably end up being a static, boring song. Every good story has a progression. Just think about all the good movies you like. They kind of have a similar progression, right? Mostly, if you think about it. Something they call hero's journey. And pop music is no different, but that's a subject for another time. Anyway, it helps to be able to look at the big picture before we look at each word we're gonna write. What's the journey? Figure that out before anything, and it will make things so much easier going forward, because now we know exactly which direction to head as we actually write the words. In this episode's song, the journey can be noticed when we compare the first verse with the second and third verses, even though it doesn't always have to be like that. This has nothing to do with song structure in terms of verses and choruses. We're still talking about the main idea of the song, not yet the song form or structure. The start of the journey could be summarized as, I am hurt and it's your fault, you did me wrong. This is where the songwriter starts the song. So far, it's crystal clear it's her fault, right? She asked me, the current boyfriend, the name of the guy she ends up dating later on. Did I introduce my girlfriend to her next boyfriend? What's going on here? Now, on the second verse, things have already changed a bit. We learn more details of the story. It wasn't really what we thought at first. Even though the songwriter still blames her for what happened, we know now that there is some shady stuff there. It's not clearly her fault anymore, right? She heard I spent some time with the girl, even kissed her, and I even try to justify it by saying it's because she wasn't around much. You see how the story is evolving? There's more. There's something they're not telling us. I want to know what it is. This doesn't make sense. Then we finally get to the third verse, which, by the way, I'm gonna call bridge because it's very different from the other verses. It's more like a transition, build up to the last chorus. Now we finally discover the hidden truth. I saved the best for later. We find out the songwriter was actually the one that broke up with her, not the other way around. What? And he did it in their favorite ice cream place, the place they went several times before, and they had a good time. And he chose that place to tell the poor girl he was dating her best friend. She'll never have ice cream again. That's messed up. And the reason why he feels okay with that is just because he suspects his girlfriend liked the other guy first. What is this, revenge or something? Is this guy delusional? These feelings are so complicated that the songwriter transitions to the last chorus by saying he is ready to move on. But then he changes his mind. He says, well, maybe we'd be together. So now we know the whole truth, but the guy is still left wondering if they would be together, and it never gets resolved. This song doesn't have a happy ending. There's no end to that suffering, no matter how much he tries to hide or fight it. Pretty sad song with a bit of cynical humor, right? So that's the journey we take the listener on. It's actually a roller coaster. With that in mind, we have the foundation we need to start thinking about song form. Now we're talking about verse, bridge, and chorus in pop music. You don't have to have each one of them, but they will help you structure your ideas. It's convenient. Also, they actually serve a purpose. The verse is used to launch the initial idea and feeling that we will work on. This is where we will develop the journey mostly. Chorus means many people singing together. We use the chorus to repeat the central idea of the song, although it doesn't have to move the plot forward. And it's actually good to be repetitive here, so the chorus sticks in the listeners' heads. The songs most people remember have a very repetitive chorus that is easy to sing along and memorize the words. If you're the only one who knows how to sing that chorus, it's just a solo instead. The bridge helps us transition from one point to another. For example, from verse to chorus, and that short bridge is also called pre-chorus. When you're writing your bridges, it's fine to make something different, even a bit disruptive, but you don't want to stay there too long. If done properly, it should build up tension, and you need it to move somewhere else before it becomes too familiar or even annoying. In our example song, the bridge before the final chorus has a different melody, harmony, rhythm, even instruments in comparison to the rest of the song. But it quickly builds up and resolves into the chorus, releasing all that tension. Now, what other tools did we use to reinforce all these unstable feelings and support our unity or prosody? There are many tools, and I promise we will talk about all of them in the following videos in this series, but for now, there are some we must talk about already. They were very important to support the emotions I wanted to express. Pattinson calls this the 6 best friends. There are some questions you need to ask yourself when writing a story, and they usually have the 6 best friends in common. They are who, why, where, when, what, and how. It's much easier to paint a picture in the listener's head when you answer these questions in your lyrics. Who am I talking about in this song? You and your new boyfriend. When did this happen? Well, apparently long time ago, and I still have our picture in a frame. Why am I writing this song? Do I miss her? Am I angry? What's the reason behind all this? Where did the story happen? Where did I break up with you? In our favorite ice cream place. Why did I pick our favorite ice cream place to break up? Does that help you understand in what state of mind the songwriter is? How did I break up with you? Did I text you things are working out between us anymore? Or did I tell you face to face I was dating your best friend? Answering all these questions is also going to help you build that roller coaster we were talking about. Another important songwriting tool is the number of lines in each section, whether it's odd or even. This can be used to support the emotion we're expressing, to put a spotlight on some ideas, to create movement towards the next section, and to create contrast between sections. For example, usually odd number of lines are used in sections that want to move into another section. That's why our pre-chorus has 3 lines instead of the usual pattern or 4 that we had previously set up in the verse. That almost begs for something else to be said afterwards, and that helps create tension and movement towards the chorus, which expresses instability. And it's no coincidence because it supports the words being said. Very unstable words. Even the line lengths can cause specific effects in your songwriting, and we're talking about the stressed syllables here. When 2 lines have different lengths, they don't feel balanced and resolved. So we can use this trick to keep the song going, to create movement. For example, when I say,
I saw you with your boyfriend, I still have our picture in a frame.
7 against 9 stressed syllables. The second line is longer. That makes us wish it would keep moving, keep talking. What's next? We can also use the same tool backwards. If the second line is shorter, we get a feeling of something is missing, unachieved happiness. For example, when I end the chorus with the following lines.
Maybe we'll be together, maybe we'll be together.
The last line in the chorus is shorter than the ones before, so it's missing something. And I'm not a detective, but I suspect the songwriter is also missing that girl, judging by the amount of times he repeated that line, maybe we'd be together, right? See how we can connect these techniques to the actual meaning of the words? Songwriter is missing the girl, and the line is missing a syllable. There's no closure here. Again, feelings being reinforced by our tools. Now, when two lines match their lengths, they feel stable. They feel balanced and complete. We can use that to state a fact, to say something we have no doubt about. It's certain, it's solid. Nothing else needs to be said. Like this.
Can't believe you hurt me. I'm not the one to blame.
6 stressed syllables on each one. That's a statement. It's not my fault, it's your fault. How about rhymes and rhyme schemes? These can easily make your sections stable or unstable. For example, I used that first verse to state a fact. It's her fault. And I chose a rhyme scheme that expresses stability, a good one to make statements. It's called XAXA, which means the first and third lines do not rhyme, but the second line rhymes with the fourth line. It's not the most powerful rhyme scheme to express stability, but if you think about it, the feelings there are not super stable. They're kinda unstable, even though it's a statement. So let's not exaggerate by using something like AABB, which is the most stable of all rhyme schemes. The one I chose is similar to the ABAB rhyme scheme, where the first and third lines make a rhyme, and the second and fourth lines make another rhyme. Now, on the pre-chorus, there are 3 lines. I thought we'd be together until the end. You promised. And we could have been. The first one rhymes with the third one, but there's nothing to rhyme with the second line. And that leaves us wanting resolution even more. It gives us an expectation. Something must be coming. They can't leave us hanging like that. We need something that rhymes with promised. That reinforces that sense of movement we wanted to have before we drop the chorus. That anticipation. We want that chorus to hit hard. So this section not only has an odd number of lines, which is unstable, they all have different lengths, unstable again, and we're left hanging with no rhyme at the end. As you can see, that's a powerful combo that does its job of leading us into the chorus. And the last two we're gonna talk about today, because I don't want to overwhelm anyone, is related to melodic rhythm and syllable placement according to the beat. In general, we want the words with the most meaning to land on the important beats of each bar. You know how in pop music there's this 4-beat count? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Usually, the first beat is the strongest. The second beat is weak. The third beat is kind of strong. And the fourth beat is also weak. So when deciding which words of the lyrics are gonna be said during each note of these beats or in between them, which would be an even weaker position, the words that are really important should probably get the spotlights by being placed on the first or third beat. Here we're looking at nouns, verbs, adjectives. But the least important words, the ones with no real meaning, like articles, conjunctions, and prepositions, these can land on the second or fourth beat, or even off beat in between beats, to remove the spotlights from them completely. That's why in the first line of the song there is a pause between I saw you and with your boyfriend. Otherwise the word with would have landed on a beat and gotten a spotlight it does not deserve, since that word has no meaning. It's just there to connect the words around it. It's not as important as they are. I also did this on the line or dancing in Berlin.
Or dancing in Berlin.
The pause between dancing and in Berlin was also made so that the word in didn't get an unnecessary spotlight by landing on a beat, while at the same time Berlin landed on the third beat of that bar, getting that much deserved spotlight. Besides, if you notice in the chorus, the words suddenly start landing on the downbeat, meaning the first beat of each bar, and that is known to create a strong stability feeling, which matches the general feeling the words express in that section when we talk about smashing grapes in France, dancing in Berlin, all those compact with happy, stable feelings, right? Once again, the technique comes to aid us and support what we're saying. Those words gained 10 times more power because they were placed under a spotlight. On the other hand, I made it so the words on the verses and pre-choruses never land on the first beat of each bar. They always skip the first beat, and that also works in our favor, supporting the general instability feeling on those sections. By the way, back to the chorus to match the instability of the line "maybe we'd be together," which is the end of our choruses. The words would probably benefit from not being placed on the downbeat. However, the word maybe lands on the downbeat every time. And I had to make that decision, even though it went against that rule, because like I said, there are no rules in songwriting. And I felt as a musician that the melody would be more interesting and more memorable if it landed on the downbeat anyway. So it's always the songwriter's choice. Use the tools, but don't get too attached to any rules. There are no rules. The tools are there to serve you, not the other way around. Before we conclude, I like to mention that if you're struggling to find words or ideas in your songwriting, it helps a lot to have a rhyming dictionary at hand, like this one. It definitely helps breaking creativity blocks. You not only find rhymes, but also ideas that happen to rhyme with whatever you had written previously, which is very convenient. Alright, that's it for today. Thank you very much for staying. I'm super excited for the next episode of how to make pop music, and I hope you are too. We'll talk about how to make good melodies that will leave people humming all day. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications, and maybe even click on the like button if you enjoyed this content. I'm Thales, and I'll see you next time.